Hey everybody, welcome to the show, Board Game Reviews. This is EYK episode number 6, and yeah, I know this should be about episode number 10 because this was originally supposed to be a bi-weekly series, but unfortunately world events are making that kind of challenging these days with social distancing. Now this is actually a video series where I talk about games I've been playing, give you, the viewers, a chance to interact with the channel with polls I put at the end where you can actually make some choices about future content for the channel, and also talk to you about different things that are going on, maybe talk about a couple different Kickstarters and other things I've been doing to enjoy the hobby greatly. Well, that's enough for the one. Let's go ahead and talk about some fun games I've been happy to get to table lately. First up, we're going to talk about is Galaxy Trucker. Now, Galaxy Trucker is a game that's been around for many, many years. It's had a lot of expansions, and I'm actually pretty fortunate. I have the Anniversary Edition. I also have the Missions Pack, and I've been playing this game with my son. Put up some video footage here showing you some of the fun we've been having with it. But Galaxy Trucker, if you're not familiar with it, this is a game that a lot of people have a tendency to say there's a lot of luck involved. And while there is a decent amount of luck involved in the game, there's actually quite a bit of skill involved, because the skill of this game is, this is a game where you are all racing to build a ship as quick as possible, and then every one of you is going to race the ship across the galaxy, trying to get the most efficiently away across the galaxy without you having your ship being attacked by space pirates, by smugglers, having asteroids blowing your ship into smithereens, finding other space stations, maybe aliens, little different aliens that look kind of like those aliens from the 1970s and early 80s movies, but they're not quite them, are invading your ship. But these are all different challenges that are going to affect your ship as you take 3 separate races, 3 separate ships. One's going to get individually bigger and bigger and bigger, and you try to race them across the galaxy. Now, Galaxy Trucker is a game that's one of my oldest son's favorite games. He absolutely loves the game, and anytime I mention, hey, you want to play Galaxy Trucker, his eyes just light up and he's running downstairs to the table and helping me set the game because he enjoys it quite a bit. Well, recently, probably back in early January or maybe February, I was able to get a hold of the Missions expansion. And I have to say, the Missions expansion adds a lot to the game and makes the game even better. Now, the interesting thing about Galaxy Trucker is when you play the base game, it's definitely a skill-based game, and again, it's also a luck-based game, but it's one of those games that as you get more skilled with the game, it's very easy for a very skilled player to pretty much decimate other players who aren't very practiced with the game, because people don't understand just the skill and the amount of skill that goes in the game, because you have to understand the components, how the components lock in, the possibilities of things you've encountered, because you know there's a deck of cards and you're going to go, okay, in our first race we ran into 3 meteor swarms, so most likely in the second race we're not going to have any meteor swarms, so I should plan for having guns for pirates, or plan for possible plagues or anything like that. So, learning how the connectors go together, learning the fact that you're racing each other to build that perfect ship, and knowing how many engines you usually need in each mission, how many guns you usually need in each mission, how many resources, carrying capacity you need in each mission. Just knowing those things can allow you to be much, much better at the game. But what I like about the missions add-on is what it does, it has about 16 additional missions, and every time you play, you're going to randomly pick a couple missions, and they're going to change how you're going to go through the game, and it's actually really refreshed the game quite a bit. It adds a lot of variety and a lot of really cool things, and it adds new modules to the game and different ways you're going to build your ships. And I hate to say that the game needed a refresh, because we still enjoy the game quite a bit. But now that we've started playing the missions games, we really don't want to go back and play without the missions, because they add some really cool things. Some of the missions are requiring to build your ship with new components, and if you don't get across the galaxy with the components, you pretty much lose. You're going to lose money, because I didn't say this before, but I'm assuming most people know Galaxy Trucker now. But the idea is at the end of 3 races to be the person with the most money at the end of the races. So you have these things where you have to maybe reinforce cargo, or you have to take radioactive cargo, or you're just racing and get into the gold cup or something like that, or all these different missions add some really unique challenges to the game and really improve the gameplay. And I have to say, I'm actually happy I am the expansion, and I'm almost at the point now where I'd say, after playing the expansion quite a few times now, I don't want to go back and play without this expansion. It adds a lot of fun, a lot of variety, and it forces you to think about how you're playing this game, because before, it almost sounds like I'm being negative here, but when you played Galaxy Trucker before, you almost kind of knew how you wanted to build your ship for each one of the stages. You knew your level 1 ship had to have probably 2 to 3 engines to keep yourself safe, probably 3 guns to keep yourself safe, probably 1 or 2 cargo containers, and you pretty much had a decent build for a ship, and you knew you had a decent chance of at least making it across the galaxy, as long as you don't have too many exposed connectors, and as long as the dice just don't hate you. But what the missions does is it forces you to rethink how you're building your ships, rethink how you're going through each one of these individual races, and rethink how everything is going. And I love what it adds to the game. It just brings a wonderful amount of extra enjoyment to a game that my son and I all really greatly enjoy. Next up, we have victory point games. And I put up a poll asking which victory point game that everybody wanted to see, and the one that won almost by pretty much a landslide was Nemo's War. Now, I remember if I talked about in the last video, I talked about Nemo's War, I talked about the zombie game, and then I talked about the fantasy horror theme. Well, not really horror theme, but more of a dark fantasy theme game for victory point games. I talked about which game would all of you like to see the most, and it seems like Nemo's War pretty much got most of the votes, and I can understand why after checking this game out. Now, Nemo's War is a solo game, and it's a cooperative game. You can play with more than one player, but it really at its heart is almost more of a designed as just a solo game. And what you're doing is you're trying to go across the seas and the oceans, and you're trying to do a whole bunch of things. But the interesting thing, not to bore you with the gameplay itself, but the really cool thing about this game is you're going to pick one of the 4 different paths you're going to go down, and every one of those paths is going to give you extra different challenges and difficulties, and you progress down these paths, and at the end of it you're going to score yourself based on how well you manage to go down this path. So this game has a wonderful amount of replay in it, and I've decided that this is going to be the next game that we are actually going to review on the channel. After I've been done with the Apocrypha video, most of you had a chance to watch that video now. If you haven't, check it out. I do a full tutorial on how to play and some sample gameplay from Apocrypha. And what I wanted to do next was Nemo's War. Now, I am liking this game. I'm having some fun with it, but I definitely want to do a full video series. But if you are familiar with my channel at all, you know that I don't like to do video reviews after only playing the game a couple of times. I really like to dissect a game, play a game a lot. That way I can pretty much teach it off the hip. And that could be a positive, and of course that can be a negative, because sometimes I ramble a little on my tutorial videos because I'm not really following a script. I play a game enough to the point where I can just get to the point where I can teach a game without even looking at the rule book. And that's where I think you need to be as a reviewer. As a reviewer, and I know some people are going to say, no, you don't have to be, but I've never been the kind of person who enjoys the kind of reviews where it's one play review or play out of the rule book and call that a review for a game. I've always been somebody who enjoys playing a game enough times that I can actually appreciate the game. I know enough about the game that I feel confident that I can sit across the table and say, hey, this is how we play the game. This is what we need to work on. This is what we need to kind of avoid. If we start seeing these things, problems are going to go bad for us. If we start seeing these things, problems are going to maybe start going away for us. But these are the kind of things we can do. But I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to tell you how to play. Let's just see how you can take the knowledge I've given you. Let's all sit around the table and have a heck of a lot of fun playing a game. So like I said, Nemo's War is going to be the next one on the list from Victory Point Games. I will probably do the other Victory Point games in the future, but before I do that, once I'm done with Nemo's War, the next game we're going to look on the list is going to be a game that's recently came out on Kickstarter. And this is going to be a chance for, well, if you've been a fan of my channel, you know that I have the wonderful, wonderful ability to mispronounce and butcher various different languages. So this is going to be a wonderful chance for me to butcher another great language, because we are going to look at a game called Viae, and this is a game called Roads of Rome, which I'll probably refer to it as that because, well, while I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing Viae correctly, or maybe I'm not, you can all make fun of me in the video comments down below. I'm going to call it Roads of Rome because that I know how to pronounce. But this game is a area control game with some really phenomenal components, and I'm actually really liking this game a lot. I would have actually done a review for it a little bit sooner, but again, this is a multiplayer game, and I'm sure you can understand with all the social distancing going on, it's a little bit of a challenge for me to play this game enough times to do a really good solid review of this game. So what I'm going to try to do over this following weekend and the next weekend, try to get in at least 2 to 3 more games of this with my friends playing over Skype. I have a setup using OBS and a couple different video cameras and the ability to play these games over Skype. What I'm hoping to do is play this game at least 2 to 3 more times, get some extra opinions outside my household, because I want to actually do a really good solid review of this game, because I'm liking this game, and I think a lot of the main reasons why I liked this game at first is it reminded me of a game from the 80s, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically a game in the Mediterranean where the players were Roman legion emperor leaders, and they were conquering various parts of the Mediterranean, and the game reminded me of that just on the surface a little bit, but not in the gameplay. But it kind of brings back some happy good memories for me, because that was a game I played with my friends when I was younger a lot. After we evolved past Risk and Castle Risk, we went into Fortress America and oh my gosh, what is the other one? There's Fortress America, and there was another one that was also another game in this line of Fortress America. And then we went on to that game that I cannot remember the name of in the Mediterranean, but they're all Avalon Hill games. They're really great games. But what I am liking about this game is making me starting to think what should be the gold standard in components in a board game. and that's going to be these player sheets. Every one of these player sheets has indentations where you can put all your components so they don't slide around. Certain game companies can learn a lesson from this, such as, oh, I don't know, Terraforming Mars, which comes with those horrible sheets where if one person just bumps the table, guess what? Your game's pretty much over unless you can really figure out where exactly all your pieces were. Yeah, I know Terraforming Mars had that expansion or that Kickstarter where you got the really good pieces, but game companies such as Eagle and Griffin Games and other game companies are really starting to do this, and I hate to say this, I'm starting to get spoiled by this, and I'm almost at the point where I'm almost anticipating this and hoping more game companies do this. Now, I know it costs a little bit more money, but gosh, it is just so awesome seeing this because your pieces don't fly around on the board. Because I don't know about you, but when I play with my friends, we get a little rambunctious, we taunt each other, the table gets bumped, people are getting up and down, grabbing food, grabbing drinks, grabbing chips, grabbing snacks, and the table is always getting bumped. So whenever I see games that have this extra stuff, it is just so dang awesome seeing it. I mean, I love Eagle Griffin Games for the fact that they do this with a lot of the games, especially the games from Viae Lacerda. All the games from Viae Lacerda have this, and I'm starting to see this from other game companies now, and I just want to give a solid thumbs up for it because I want to see more of this. Yeah, it adds a little bit to the cost, but gosh, it is just so freaking awesome, and it's just amazing having it. Now, this game, you'll get to see more of it when I talk about it, but the game has some great components, has some really thick cards, has wooden components, and it has dice. Now, the dice mechanics in this game are not that bad. Usually when I see dice mechanics in a war style game, I'm like, oh no, dice mechanics, there goes all the skill out of the game because it's all going to be about the luck of the dice, a la Risk. Well, this game, not going to spoil anything, but it does have some ability to mitigate the luck with the dice, and the dice aren't really the main theme of the game because this is actually more of an area control game where the players are trying to take control of Rome, take control of the roads, and take control of the cities to score the most victory points. And the cool thing is that there's different setups for the game, the way your sergeants are going to come out, different effects are going to come out every round. They're kind of like events that are going to happen all the time, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Be ready for that one to come up on the channel right after Nemo's War. It's a game that I'm having a lot of fun with and I really enjoy, but I want to get those extra plays online with my friends to really cement a nice, solid review for everybody. Next up, if you've been watching my channel for a while or watched my top 51 games of all time, you know that I really do enjoy games that have a lot of variety in the replay department. I like a game that you can get to the table 10, 15, 20 times or more and still have a heck of a lot of time. I don't enjoy those flash in the pan games because to me it's a flash in the pan. So games like Race for the Galaxy or games that have a lot of replay, I really enjoy, and that's why I really want to say how happy I am that I finally managed to snag the final expansion for Abyss. And this was actually a wonderful find from one of my viewers who actually sent me a message on Board Game Geek. Thank you ever so much, because Abyss is a game that I've enjoyed for many years. I think it's a great game. It has really wonderful artwork. I love the theme and I love the mechanics. I love the fact that it is a game that really rewards you playing the game more and more and more. It's a game where you need to learn the lords, learn how the lords work, learn the symbiosis between all the lords, how they work together, the combinations you can create and everything like that. But it's always been a game that I was always sad about because you can really only play up to 4 players. Now, there was an expansion, the Leviathan expansion. But the Leviathan expansion allows you to play the game up to 5 players. So that was a big first thing that I've always wanted for the game, was the ability to get up to 5 players, because my game group is 5, sometimes 6, and when we play D&D, we go all the way up to 7 players. So we do have a larger board game group. Now, I know you can say, well, break into smaller players. Well, that's not why we get together. We're all friends. We get together to play games together. So we like games that have the 5 and 6 player count because we can get them to the table. So when the expansion for Abyss that added the 5th player came out, I was wanting it very badly. But unfortunately, I could only find it in French. And unfortunately, I speak German and English. I don't speak much French at all. I took 1 year of French, and I can say probably 3 or 4 sentences to make myself look like an idiot, and that's about all I can do. So when I found out that somebody told me very nicely that I can actually order an English copy of Abyss, that made me extremely happy. So now that I have the expansion, now that I have the ability to play the game with the 5 players, I am actually going to do a full review of Abyss on the channel because I enjoy this game immensely. It's a game that I have a heck of a lot of fun with. I appreciate the fact that the game is one of those games that is really a game that you have to play a lot of times to appreciate, and it's a game that's going to reward the skill of a player who's willing to invest the time, learn how to play the game, improve their play, and learn how all the lores and everything works together. It's something that I enjoy in a game, and I'm just ever so happy I got a hold of the Abyss Leviathan expansion. So look for this coming soon from the channel. Probably not in the immediate future. We're probably going to see a couple more games mixed in because, again, I'm trying to be being really sympathetic to a lot of the gamers out there who are pretty much stuck with the social distancing. So there's a good chance that my channel, after I do the Viae review, I'm probably going to start focusing a lot more on the cooperative solo style games, just to show you some great games that you can get to the table while we're going through all the social distancing. That's enough about Abyss. Let's look at what's next on the list. Next up on the list is Edge of Darkness. Now, Edge of Darkness is a card crafting game, and the most recent expansion has finally been delivered. Of course, my copy of the most recent expansion is missing the extra components that are supposed to come in it that made up for the fact that the original game was lacking enough components to play the game properly, but I'm not really surprised because I'm still missing my coins from the original Kickstarter, so not really a shocker that I'm missing things again, but oh well, that's where my luck has been with AEG and Kickstarters with them, so I guess that's a lesson for me on backing Kickstarters from AEG. But let's not be negative about that, because let's talk about Edge of Darkness. Now, Edge of Darkness is a card crafting game, and it's an evolution of, well, we can probably talk about a mechanic that's over a dozen years old now, because it's basically a card crafting game evolved from a deck building game. Because in Edge of Darkness, the players are playing a deck building game, but the unique thing about the game is you're going to build your cards as you play the game, because every person is going to have a deck of cards and it's going to have some basic effects on them. As you buy extra cards, you're going to slot them in a sleeve along with your basic cards, which is going to create more powerful versions of your cards. Here's the trick of the game though, because your cards, as you play them, you're going to discard them, and the front side of your cards has all these cool powers that you've been slotting in to increase the power of the cards. The back side of the cards has the monsters, which are occasionally going to attack the city. So you have this constant balancing act of what you're doing is you're making the cards more powerful, you're also making the monsters more powerful, which will eventually attack the city based on another cool thing, a cube tower, because you're going to have a cube tower where you're going to drop these aggro cubes into a tower. That's not the right term for it, but that's the only word I can think of at this time. But you're going to drop these cubes in the tower, and as soon as enough of these cubes fall into certain spots of the tower, the monster is going to attack all the players. And if the players haven't prepared for themselves for this, it can do some very nasty things. So the players can also work on taking out these monsters. So you have this really cool back and forth of this game as you're trying to build the power of your cards, looking and going, I'm making this card really powerful, but I'm also making this monster really, really powerful. But if I kill this monster, it's going to give me a lot of victory points. So if I plan how I do everything and have all these monsters lined up on the cube tower and I take them out and I get extra victory points, and maybe even I can plan it for these monsters to attack the other players who aren't quite ready for it. So you have all these really cool strategies that come with the game. Now, I have a heck of a lot of fun with the game. Haven't done a full review of the game yet on the channel because, well, the game only plays up to 4, and as you know, I really do have a tendency to do the higher player count games because that's the size of my play group. So I know it would be fantastic if this game could ever get to 5 players. I don't think it's ever going to happen because I know AEG is not a big fan. At least looking at the catalog, they generally like to do the up to the 4 player count games. So I don't ever see this one going up to 5 players. But if it does, I will be extremely happy. Yeah, I know it's going to make the game play longer, but hey, it doesn't matter how long it plays, as long as all my friends are having fun gathering around the table playing the same game. So Edge of Darkness, look for a review for this game coming from the channel. Probably look for it maybe late summer or something like that. Maybe a little bit sooner, it depends how things go. Again, with the social distancing, this is one of those games that I want to actually play with this expansion quite a bit for. And I probably have to contact AG and see, hey, can I get these missing components this time, since you guys wanted to send me the coins, and hopefully I'll get lucky on this one. But if I don't, it doesn't matter, because I'm going to be reviewing this game because John DeClaire has created a phenomenal game here. He's managed to evolve the mechanics from Mystic Vale, and yeah, I know Mystic Vale technically came after Edge of Darkness, but it's a simplified version of the game. It's a really great game. It's a wonderful evolution of Mystic Vale, and a game I definitely want to get to the camera as quick as possible. Next up, we have Clank, but not just Clank. The big giant box. We have Clink Legacy. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of legacy games because I don't appreciate the concept of a game that you're going to play 10 or 15 times and you're done, you're going to throw away, put it in the trash, whatever you do, frame it, put it on the wall, but you're basically done with the game and you can't play it anymore. Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated is actually a legacy style game done right. Because this is a game where you're going to go through a 10-game legacy campaign, and then when you're done, guess what? You can keep playing the game. So this is actually a great version of the Clank game system. So this is actually basically the fantasy version of Clank with a couple different things from the Penny Arcade people throwing their branding into the game system. And after you play through 10 games, you can keep playing the game. But the really, really cool thing, and this is what's really got me super duper excited, is they just announced that the Clank is going to get a 5 or 6 player expansion. And the really, really cool thing is that 5 or 6 player expansion works with this as long as you've gone through the entire campaign. So you do have to go through the entire campaign with 4 players, but once you do, you can pull in that 5 or 6 player expansion, add it to the set, and not only do you have this version of Clank that you completely evolve with some of your best friends, you also have this version of Clank that you can keep on playing, having a heck of a lot of fun with. Now, Clank is one of those games that is a really cool game that's created some, I don't want to say it's an evolution of mechanics that we've seen before, but it kind of is an evolution of mechanics. But it's got this really cool idea where you're going to put Clank into a bag and you're going to pull this Clank out. Clank represents noise because all of our players are dungeoneers, or, well, in this case, not really dungeoneers, but you're a party of heroes and you're going through this dungeon trying to prevent yourselves from making too much noise. Because once there's too much noise, the dragon's going to wake up and he's going to slaughter anybody who's stuck inside the dungeon. And the people who haven't made it back to the city are going to take a little bit of damage, but at least they're going to score. The players who are stuck in the dungeon and slaughtered by the dragon score 0 victory points. The players who at least make it out are going to manage to score some victory points. So it's this really cool push your luck style game because you're going to build your deck as you go deeper and deeper into the dungeon, but you'll be watching the noise meter of all the players and watch how much noise is going to the bag and go, okay, do I have enough time to go and get that magic item and make it out? Do I push my luck? Yeah, I do. I push my luck every time. And yeah, I don't win too often because I love to push my luck. I enjoy push my luck games because to see if I can go bust. But hey, that's besides the point. Clank Legacy, this is a game that I'm definitely going to get to the channel as quick as possible because this is a game I have a heck of a lot of fun with. The trick is I need to get the gameplay with my friends. And again, that social distancing thing. So look at this game to be coming out probably late summer. What I may try to actually do is record a couple of play sessions. Now, granted, that does mean it's going to be full of spoilers, but I think if I can play with my friends and get this to the table, everybody will have a heck of a lot of fun. It'd be really cool watching this playthrough and enjoy getting to the table for all of you to watch. Next up, we have Star Trek Ascendancy, going where no man has gone before. This is a game that is actually a space game, but it's actually a really interesting game that I picked up a couple months after the Hyperspace Kickstarter closed because it was really interesting. After I played Hyperspace a whole bunch of times, it started reminding me a little bit about some of the mechanics from Star Trek Ascendancy, which made me go out there and pick it up because I knew I wouldn't be seeing Hyperspace for about a year and a half. Because that's basically how Kickstarters go. Anytime you have a Kickstarter, that's a lot of miniatures, especially a lot of unique miniatures, and this Hyperspace game has 24, no, I think it actually has 25 factions, and each one of those factions has its own unique miniatures for part of its units. So you know the game is not going to come out for a while. Anytime you have a Kickstarter with that much variety, you're basically looking at a year and a half. If you think it's going to take less than a year and a half, you're pretty much fooling yourself. If you've been backing Kickstarters for a while, you know that that's pretty much a game that's going to require about 18 months before it's ever going to show up at your door. So anyways, I played Hyperspace and it actually made me start wanting to really get Star Trek Ascendancy. Now I knew about the game, I knew how it played and everything like that, but I didn't actually own the game. So I went out there and picked it up because I wanted the chance to play the game. Because, like I said, it did kind of remind me of Hyperspace with some of the mechanics. So I played Star Trek Ascendancy. I went and picked up the 3 expansions. I don't have the Borg expansion because I've heard mixed reviews about it, so I haven't actually picked it up. Probably won't pick it up at all. Now, I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan in the world. I actually like Babylon 5. That was my sci-fi show that I enjoyed quite a bit. I actually prefer it more than Star Trek. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a review of Star Trek Ascendancy from the standpoint of somebody who's not a huge Star Trek fan. Now, Star Trek Ascendancy is from Gale Force 9, and Gale Force 9 does a really great job with their thematic games. Whether you like thematic games or not, that's irrelevant to, or sorry, that's not relevant to what we're talking about here. It's true, though, that Gale Force 9 does a really fantastic job with their thematic games. You look at any one of the thematic games that Gale Force 9 has built, and their games are really darn good. They take a really good theme, marry some really good mechanics to it, and they actually create some really, really great games. So Gale Force 9 has done a really great job, even for somebody who is not a Star Trek fan can look at this and see that they managed to incorporate the theme of Star Trek into a game. Now, I used to say that Star Trek Frontiers was probably the best version of the Star Trek game or the Star Trek theme out there, but I think Star Trek Ascendancy might actually dethrone it. Now, I appreciate Star Trek Frontiers, the game where you're playing the Starfleet and going across the map and everything like that, but I think I actually might start preferring Star Trek Ascendancy. Now, Star Trek Ascendancy is a longer playing game. It's definitely a different playing game, but I think that Gale Force 9 pretty much nailed the theme 100% here. So I'm going to try to get a review for this game out on the channel. I'll probably just do the base game with the 3 factions when I do the review. If I get enough reviews on that video, or if I get enough requests, or a lot of people are really interested, I'll talk about the other 3 factions that come with it. I'm not going to cover the Borg faction because not only do I not own it, but I haven't heard enough positive for it for me to spend my own money to go out there and buy the Borg expansion. So, but if it does turn out to be really, really popular, if I get enough requests, or if I can find a copy for a really good deal, maybe I'll throw it in there, but eventually look for Star Trek Ascendancy to show up on the channel. So that's enough talk about future content coming from the channel. Let's talk about things I have actually been managing to play with my friends. Now, thanks to social distancing, a lot of us are doing a lot of gaming online. Now, some people are playing games on Board Game Arena or playing through virtual tabletops. Well, I've been doing a different kind of virtual tabletop. I've been actually playing lots of RPGs with my friends, specifically playing 5e with my friends. And we've been using the Fantasy Grounds virtual tabletop software. Now, I originally had a really bad love-hate relationship with the Fantasy Grounds software. To be honest, when I first got it about 2 years ago, which would have been the classic version, because there's Fantasy Grounds Classic and there's Fantasy Grounds Unity, which is the newest version, which is in really late beta. It's actually almost close to being released, but there's still a couple little bugs in it. But it is the better version of the software and actually has some really cool upgrades, such as line of sight, but I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. But when I originally got the software about 2 years ago, I played around with it probably for a couple of days, got extremely frustrated with it, contacted the company and said, yeah, I want a refund because the software is not working, it's not doing what I want to do, and I just basically made a fool of myself and said, give me my money back, well, in a nice, very professional way. I wasn't rude about it, I just said, hey, I want my money back. So anyways, a couple weeks after that, I kind of spent some time and actually did some research, and I looked at Roll20, which was the competition. I saw Roll20 offer, and I was like, oh, well, Roll20 seems decent, but it doesn't actually do what Fantasy Grounds advertised it could do. I just could never get Fantasy Grounds to work. So I downloaded the huge software manual, which is about 130 pages, and actually took the time to learn how to use the software. And I said, oh boy, this is actually fantastic software if you're just willing to take the time to learn how to do it. Now, you don't have to need to read the 134-page manual. There's actually a good tutorial video I found on YouTube after I read the manual, but oh well. That tutorial video actually teaches how to use the software quite well and quite nicely, but oh well, you know, I now have good knowledge because I read the manual. But anyways, the cool thing about Fantasy Grounds is a virtual tabletop that allows you to play RPGs online. Specifically, it does cover a couple different ones, but the major one it does cover is playing 5th edition. Now, you can use Fantasy Grounds to play 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons and have a heck of a lot of fun with it. You just go buy the modules you need. You can buy the adventures you want to go through. Matter of fact, this game automates so many things. That's the great thing about Fantasy Grounds. It automates so many things that this is why I actually want to talk about it. With all the social distancing, this is actually a phenomenal time to start learning how to play Dungeons and Dragons or other RPGs with your friends. If you've ever been interested in RPGs in just the littlest bit, this is a phenomenal time. Because with Fantasy Grounds and Skype, you and all your friends can get together around a virtual tabletop and start having a heck of a lot of fun and learning how to play D&D. Now, the reasons why I actually like Fantasy Grounds better than Roll20, and this is not going to be a video review about the two products, is I like how Fantasy Grounds allows me to incorporate anything I want into the system as long as I know how to put it in there. And once you learn how to use the software, it's really darn brilliant. You can tell this game, the software is actually made by coders who are software engineers who really know if you're willing to learn the nuts and bolts on it, you can really do some really cool, phenomenal things. Matter of fact, you can do so many cool, phenomenal things. I've actually managed to move Sandy Petersen's Cthulhu Mythos completely into Fantasy Grounds so I can actually run the Petersen games RPG campaigns through this. Or if you don't want to do that much work though, the really cool thing about this is you can go to their website, buy a module. Some are like $5, some are a little more expensive, but they're always cheaper than buying the hardbacks by going to any of the bookstores, just going to Amazon or the hardbacks, but it's cheaper to do that. And the software will completely run you through these adventures, and it makes it super easy for the dungeon master. The game system is really super easy to create a character. You create your character, you have all your friends log in together, create your characters, you pull up the module, you open it up, and it has these little story tabs. And all you do as a dungeon master is you just open up story tab page number 1, you read the text it tells you to read to the players, you ask the players what they do their different things, maybe a combat starts, you click on a little button, it adds all the enemies into the combat, it brings up this combat tracker, and then people roll virtual dice. It handles the bonuses, the penalties, it handles the effects, it handles the spells, it handles all these things. Matter of fact, if you have just the smallest inkling of how to play Dungeons & Dragons, you can use Fantasy Grounds and play and do a phenomenal job of playing the game system, thanks to how well the software works. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring it over to the computer here and just show you simply how quick and easy the software is. Now I'm going to show you what I've actually done with Sandy Petersen's Cthulhu Mythos, because I'm actually running an adventure in here, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit, so I'm going to kind of do that just to show it kind of a full complete wrap up here. But the cool thing about the system here is you just need to pull up the queue to create a character. Now this is a campaign I'm currently running, so you're going to see a whole bunch of things like some characters we have running through the campaign, and I don't want to mess around with any of these characters because this is a campaign that we're actually running through. What we're running through is really cool, interesting campaign where the players are on an island that's about to be taken over by a ghoulocracy run by a great old one, but I don't want to give away any spoilers, especially since some of them may be watching this, and oh well, spoilers, but oh well. They're starting to make it through and they're starting to figure out things that are going on. They're having a heck of a lot of fun with it. But the really cool thing about the software is you can easily create a character. You simply click on the item, create your character, and I'm going to move this over somewhere over here to the side. And the easy thing about the software is you simply give your character a name. Simple enough. And then after you give your character a name, all you need to do is roll up your 6 stats. Now if you played D&D before, you know there's 6 stats. You're just going to roll your dice 6 times. Now I am showing you the DM version of the software right now. The player software looks a little bit different on their side, so understand there's actually some more user-friendly tabs on the player side of it. I'm not logged in as a player, I'm logged in as a DM, so I can show you some of the cool things I got here. But I've rolled the 6 stats and I've seen that, oh wow, this is just going to be some really horrible stats. Oh, this is going to be extra fun. So the first thing you just need to do is you just need to decide what kind of class you want to be, what kind of race you're going to be. We're going to do a cool thing. We're going to make a cat sorcerer. Now this is actually a cat from the Sandy Petersen's Cthulhu Mythos. I've actually imported it completely into the software here, and you're going to see how really cool this actually works. So since we know we're going to be a cat, we're going to have a really horrible strength, and it's going to get really worse here in just a second. But it's really cool. You just click and drag all the stats on the various areas you want. We know that since we're going to be a sorcerer, we want high charisma, so we'll put the charisma over there. We will probably want, at least decent intelligence, so we don't look like a total dummy, so we'll drag the intelligence over there. So that's our 12 and a 14. And this is looking pretty pitiful. We'll do a 13 for Dex. And is that the last of our stats here? I'm doing this kind of quickly here. So we have 13 done, we have the 6 done, we have a 10 done, we have another 10 done, and we have the 14 and the 12. Yep, so those are all our basic stats. Next thing you need to do after you do this is you just need to pick up your background that you're going to use for your character. And I'm going to be also very super funny about this. I'm going to make a cat. So I think he's going to be a criminal because cat burglar. It's funny. No, it's not, but I'm going to do it anyways. So the game or the software just allows you to click and drag everything onto the tabletop. So you click and drag your background over there, and you just click on the little shield symbol, and you see that you are look at various different things. So you can look at an image of a burglar or criminal. Obviously our criminal is not going to look like that because they're going to be a cat. I'll show you an image in a second. You get to look at your table for a criminal specialty. You can pick or you can roll. Of course, we're going to actually pick a burglar because cat burglar is funny. So we will become a burglar and everything like that, but we'll move on to that. I'll show you all that stuff in just a second, but let's put that off to the side. And if you look at this cool thing, it's already moved in all of our skills from just picking our background so far. We have the abilities from our background, and we have the skills of deception and stealth we get from just picking that criminal background. Now, next thing we need to do is we need to pick our race. So we'll go over to the races right here, and we will go over to my special file that I made right here, and you see all the races I've already incorporated from Sandy Petersen's Cthulhu Mythos in the game. So we're going to make a Dreamlands cat. It's really just literally just a cat, household cat, but it's a special magical cat. Oh, well, you can pick different kinds, but read the Cthulhu Mythos, you'll learn more about it, or read the H.P. Lovecraft books. So you simply just take a race and you're going to drag it and drop it right over here. And now one thing's going to happen here, at least the way I create it right here, is going to allow you to pick your subrace. I'm going to pick a Terran cat as my subrace, and if you want, you can read exactly what it's done. You can see their traits, special things I've added, and I've incorporated all this into Fantasy Grounds already. But we're going to pick Terran cat, and if you watch the stats, you're going to see my stats are going to modify as soon as I pick the race. Strength's going to go down, and my other two stats are going to change. My charisma is going to go up, and you're going to see this big old wall of text get added in here, showing all the things that just got added into my character. You're going to see all these abilities. It's going to show all these different things that my class gets, all these different special abilities that all get incorporated for picking the Dreamlands cat. You can do this. I can do this with a ghoul. I can do this with a Nori, a Langfolk, Chocho, or Zug, or anything like that. You can create any one of these races just because I've added them into the system. Now that's done, the next thing we need to do is we need to pick our class. Well, we've already decided that we are going to be a sorcerer. So let's go ahead and look for the sorcerer. And we will pick a sorcerer, and my oldest son is standing over here. He's making me laugh, so that's why I'm giggling. He has the cat. He has the cat.
I have the cat.
The cat is named Luna. And the funny thing is I'm making a cat named Luna. Can you move this side, you silly boy?
All right.
So we will pick a sorcerer. Simple. Drag and drop again, and we will get another pop-up asking us what kind of skills we want to take. We got to pick 2 skills. Well, we're a cat, so let's take, oh, I don't know. How about, well, we're not going to be doing intimidate anybody, at least not with a 4, oh my gosh, a 4 strength. That's comical. So how about we do Arcana, since that's where our specialty is, and let's do Deception because, you know, deceptive little kitty. So we'll pick that. And then we're going to get another pop-up, which is going to ask us what our background is. You know we're going to pick Shadow because cats and shadows sounds kind of cool. So after we pick that, it's going to add everything over into our character sheet. We're going to see that we gained the skills that we just had. We're going to see all these abilities have been dragged over, and some of these abilities we're going to have to go in and we're going to have to update them, like the criminal contact. We'll need to roll on the table, figure out what our criminal contact is. Burglar, background contact, whatever we want to do. We got to add all that stuff in there. But most of that stuff gets added in here. And the way I created this is we need to modify this to show that we have 9 lives left. That's one of the special abilities of the Dreamlands cats. And you get to see that we get to pick 1 tool, so when you edit that, we'll need to look at the weapon proficiencies and all that stuff. We'll need to modify our inventory, but that's super easy stuff to do. To do all that stuff, you can actually just take from the Sorcerer tab right here, click on the secondary tab right here, and then you just click on the Armor tab, you click on your Tools tab, you can click on your Weapons tab, click any one of those things, and completely drag and drop them over on the table. It's super duper easy. Then after that, all we need to do is pick our spells. A sorcerer starts with 4 cantrips, and they also start with 2 level 1 spells. We can pull it up by looking at the spells tab right there, or we can do it super duper easy by just looking at spell or our abilities tab. Go over to spell casting. We will see sorcerer spells. We simply click on sorcerer spells right there. It'll pop up, and then we just need to pick 4 cantrips and 2 first level spells. And then the nice thing about the software, it's all totally click and drag. Let's take Acid Splash because that's cool. Let's take Mage Hand because fits for the cat burglar. We'll take Minor Illusion so he doesn't always look like a cat burglar because, hey, we may not always want to do that. And it's always good to have a little bit of offensive power, so we will take Poison Spray. And then for first level spells, let's take Charm Person. And let's see, Jump could be cool, but cats always land on the feet, so maybe we don't need to do that. How about Sleep, so we get in and out without being discovered? Perfect. So now the cool thing about the software is you see that it brings in all your characters, brings in all your spells, all your abilities and everything like that, and it completely creates the character. And I've been talking and making this take a long, long time. To be totally honest, you can pretty much create a character here in 5 minutes or less. So if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons before, you understand just how long it can take to create a character. You can do this all right here, and you can start playing with this character. The only thing left for me to do is I need to go in the assets container, type in cat. That way I have something to represent my cat, and hey, that looks pretty cool. I'll do that right there. That way I can have my cat on the combat tracker when the maps come up and everything like that. And this character is pretty much 90% ready to go. We're done. We're almost done there. We can do this again if we want to. We can create another character. If we're trying to create a full party, or we're having our players create a full party, we'll create one more. Just to show you how easy and quick this is, we'll create a character. We'll call them Pugsley Adams. I'm great with the puns today. So let's pull up our race. Our race is going to be a ghoul, but first we need to roll our stats. Is that 6 times? I don't know. I did it really, really quickly. 1, 2, 3, ups. I cheated. I rolled 7 times. So we'll drop the last stat. So we will take the 17. Let's make this a rogue. So let's go 17 into Dex. Do 10 strength. We'll do 9 into intelligence. We'll do 15 into charisma. That's why he's super charming. We'll do 8 into wisdom. And then we'll do 9 into strength. He's not super duper strong, but you know what? He's just trying to get by being as tricky and deceptive as possible. We'll go ahead and look at our backgrounds, and this is super duper easy. I got to find the backgrounds again, and the GM side of things, which is a little bit more information. The player side is much more simpler. Matter of fact, if I was smart, I would actually switch this over to the players, create a PC tab, so this is all nice and clean. You can see how quick and easy this actually is. So we will go there, and we're a rogue. Let's go with the criminal background again because, hey, we're working great. We're doing it. We're enjoying it so far. So everything about that, we're done. We'll pull up our races. We will create a ghoul, and we will decide that we are a ghoul that is raised by, hey, let's go with half-orcs because that sounds really, really cool and nice and interesting. Maybe we're a little bit more of a thug, more of an enforcer, or more of an bouncer. Close out of that, we'll pull up classes. Next thing to do is we are going to be a rogue. So with our roguish self, we will drag over a rogue. We are now a level 1 rogue. It's going to ask us a couple questions. We get 4 skills to pick from. Well, as a criminal, we know that we get deception and stealth, so we don't need to pick those. So let's pick athletics. Let's pick, well, we're not going to be intimidating anybody with 9 strength. Let's pick insight. Let's be perceptive. And hey, how about, let's see. Let's look at all the skill potentials we have here. Sure, why not? Let's go with it. So, now that we have all that, we see it's going to calculate all our bonuses. It's going to give us all of our abilities. We see all these things. Some of these things we need to go through and just fix them up, such as a criminal contact and everything like that. And then we get to go down to our actions. And then from here, we'll just need to pull up the rogue and transfer over our backstab and all those extra different things, pull over some weapons, fill up our equipment, and it's just super duper easy. And then all we need to do is just pull in a little pog for our character when we're on our combat sheets and everything like that. And the system just does all this stuff phenomenally. It's just really, really great. And the cool thing is, like I said, if you're willing to put all these things into the system, you can see that you have all these cool things. I managed to put in all this stuff about the ghoul, and all this stuff was taken from Sandy Petersen's Cthulhu Mythos. So I can actually play those full adventures in the game system here, and you can even see that we have these ghouls don't look quite like normal ghouls. They look a little bit, let's just say a little different, but they're really cool and they really fit the theme of the Cthulhu Mythos. So Fantasy Grounds, you see, works really, really phenomenally. If you've been wanting to get into RPGs, I can highly recommend this. Now, there is a little bit of a learning curve, which is something that Roll20 doesn't have. Roll20 is fully web-based. You can just literally just log into a web-based system and start playing. But it doesn't have the pure, robust, and the amazing features that this program does. If you're willing to learn a little bit about port forwarding, well, you'll need to do that, especially if you're running any kind of antivirus or anything like that. It's pretty easy if you want to. Just go, I'll actually put a link in the video here, but there's a nice, easy post on the Fantasy Grounds website that shows you how to do port forwarding if you happen to be running antivirus on your computer. And most of us are these days anyway, so you'll probably want to check that out. But you do the port forwarding, then all your friends can start playing, and then the cool thing is you can start pulling up these storylines, and you can start running these storylines with your friends. You can say, hey, you all walk into the Laughing Hammer. As you do, I can just click on this, and it puts us right in the chat, and all the players see the chat there. Or if I don't want to do this, I can just start reading off to the players as we're all playing through Skype or something like that, and you see just how easy this is. And then the really cool thing about this system is get rid of these and get rid of these, and I'll go back to the DM view really, really quick here. But the cool thing is when you pull out the combat tracker, you see that the combat tracker does everything for you. Remember those old days where you had to look up modifiers, bonuses, penalties, THACO, and all those concepts that you had to learn? It's super duper easy in the system. All you do is you just pull up your character. If you're a player, player's going to do this on their own. You're going to decide that you're going to attack the big, mean, nasty, the big old horrific abomination. As a player, you're going to decide to attack it. And you just pick up your die, drop it on your target. It's going to roll the damage, and if you look at the chat log, it's going to tell you, let's see here, it's going to tell you that you hit with a total of 22. So now all you do is just roll the damage versus the creature, and you see how much damage you did versus the creature, and hey, it's even going to list how much damage it is. But the cool thing about the player side of the UI here is that the DM side of this shows exact numbers. The player side just shows very generic things. You can make it say generic things such as bad guy is wounded, bad guy is bloody, bad guy is heavily wounded, bad guy is dead. So it's really, really cool, and it also adds to the thematic immersion of the game. So Fantasy Grounds is this really cool software, and the awesome thing is you can do anything you want with it. You can run just basically your own homebrew, or if you really, really want, you can take the software and you can download some of the things such as Yig Snake Granddaddy from Sandy Petersen and just take this entire campaign and run it through your system and have a lot of fun. I'm going to talk about this a little bit in just a second because this is actually a really darn cool module, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to import it into Fantasy Grounds. But you can take these modules and run the players through it, and the game system or the software does all the work for you. So it's really, really phenomenal. And all you need to do is, if you want to run this in Fantasy Grounds, you can do the easy way of just like using the creatures, create the creatures very easily, or you can just simply do the super duper easy thing. And let me just go down to, I don't want to do too many spoilers here, so let's see here. As we need to wait for this to load. But, well, let me, oh boy. Let me just show you basically how it's going to work. You can simply just take the text, copy the text, and then from there you can just simply paste it into Fantasy Grounds. Just over on your story tabs right here, you just bring up your story tabs, you just paste it into story tabs, and you just have all the information. And you can make the software do these things such as telling the players what they see, what this text from the players. You can even have NPCs talking to the players. You can do all these really, really cool things. So the software is just absolutely wonderful if you're looking for a way to get into 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Don't want to fight learning the rules, don't want to fight doing all those things. If you have a basic understanding of how things work and you're willing to put a couple minutes into learning the software, you're going to have a heck of a lot of fun playing Fantasy Grounds and playing all these great adventures. Now, I have actually been going through with my friends, playing through a campaign, but my friends, some of them, they work jobs during the summertime where they're working 7/12s. One of the guys I work with, he's a construction worker, so during the summertime, he's going to work 7/12. So we had to put our main campaign on hold. And the main reason why I'm talking about the Yig Snake Daddy is because now that our main campaign is on hold, with the other friends who don't work construction, we're going to go through this campaign, and we are thinking, at least I'm thinking, hopefully I talk to them about this, see how they feel, is maybe we're going to record some of these playthroughs and upload them onto YouTube if you are interested in watching us do this. So basically what I'm going to use is I'm going to use Fantasy Grounds, use this campaign and run up players at least to the beginning of the campaign so you can see how this campaign starts out. I'm not going to run the entire campaign because I don't want to spoilers, because if you've ever been a fan of Sandy Petersen, you know that when it comes to Cthulhu Mythos, he likes to create these really cool, really interesting campaign worlds where he integrates the bad guys, the big bad guy, the lesser bad guys, and the minions all work really, really together, create this fantastic environment where the players will start off not really knowing what's going on, and they slowly start unraveling clues and information to start realizing that they're in over the heads versus grand, great bad guy. And these campaigns go all the way from level 1 all the way to level 15, making it a campaign where you can play weeks and weeks and months to go through this entire campaign and have a lot of fun. The extra really cool bonus is it's only $19.99, basically $20 for the first adventure. So you can get this great first adventure, go through it, and have a lot of fun. So before we close everything out, just want to talk about a couple of Kickstarters, and we'll close everything out with the typical poll, because I know this video is running longer, but again, just the way things are going with our wonderful world right now, I knew this video was going to run longer because it hasn't quite been as bi-weekly as I wanted it to be. So over on the Kickstarter front, first of all, I know I'm a little bit late to the party, but we have to give Frosthaven Part 2 of Gloom Haven one heck of a thumbs up to Isaac. He did a wonderful job bringing out a second edition of a game. well, not second edition, but a second story for the game system. And let's be perfectly honest here, with Gloom Haven, he basically could have phoned it in with Frosthaven, given us all the same mechanics, just a brand new story, and most of us would have been happy. But instead of that, we have a new expansion or new standalone expansion system for the game, which brings in more mechanics and modifies basically the city part of the game, which is a part of the game which didn't have as much as Frosthaven is going to have, because we're going to actually build up the entire city of Frosthaven as we're playing through the game. And we also have to give one heck of a thumbs up to Isaac for the fact that he is now the #1 board game out there, coming out there at almost $13 million, becoming the new #1 game, and it's really highly deserved. Definitely deserves one heck of a thumbs up there. Now, I enjoy Gloom Haven a lot. I enjoy the fact that it really is a Euro style game. As a matter of fact, I started playing Gloom Haven quite a bit, and it actually kind of was my go-to game there for a while because I stopped playing Mage Knight in favor of Gloom Haven. Now, Gloom Haven is not a perfect game in my mind because it really is more of a Euro style game. And I kind of think a dungeon crawler has to be more of an Amero style game, because a Euro style game requires certain mechanics to keep it, you know, Euro. I guess there's no better way of saying it. One good example of the way to describe that is the game is a very much a point economy game where you have a very strong economy based on the cards you have. Once you run out of cards, you basically lose because your cards are hit points, which means certain things such as coins are on the ground. You can't always risk going after the coins because you don't have enough cards to do that. So you may go through an entire dungeon leaving all these coins on the floor and you can't pick them up even once you complete the dungeon, which is a very strong nod to Euro mechanics, because we all know in a real dungeon crawl, once we kill the 1,000 orcs, we're going to walk back in and we're going to loot that entire damn dungeon, because that's what we're there for, a loot. Anyways, so we got to understand there are some concessions for the game, but he did a phenomenal job deciding Gloom Haven, and there's no doubt in my mind that Frosthaven is going to be just as good. Actually, I think it's actually going to be better, because I like the fact with the settlement, how we are going to be building up the settlement a lot more. He does a great job telling stories, and the really honest reason why I enjoy Gloom Haven, and I think I'm going to enjoy Frosthaven, is because myself, I enjoy playing RPGs quite a bit, but I'm always stuck being the DM, which means I'm always a person creating the stories, telling the stories, and bringing the storytelling environment to the players. So I'm having fun with the system because it's a system where it can draw me in. I can actually be the player in the system. I can enjoy the story, I can evolve the story, and I can interact with this designed world built by somebody else, and I can feel like I'm a player in this wonderful evolving world. So Frosthaven, got to give a thumbs up for being the new #1 highest selling board game on Kickstarter. Great job, Isaac. Well deserved. You built a wonderful game system, something that all of us can really enjoy. Now, it's a game I haven't reviewed on the channel yet. I don't think I will ever review the game, but when Frosthaven comes out, I think what I'm going to do is start doing some live plays for it. I think it's something all of you will be interested in. It's something I'm really looking forward to. Next up on the list, we have Lords of Vegas, the expansion for it, or at least the up expansion for it. Now, Lords of Vegas, if you're not familiar with it, well, Lords of Vegas is a perfect reason to go ahead and burn any copies of Monopoly you may have in your house, because Lords of Vegas is the perfect Monopoly replacement because it's a great game. So the idea of Lords of Vegas is every single one of the players is building up Vegas in the late 40s, early 50s on the Vegas Strip, and you're trying to build up all these casinos. The cool thing is you're going to roll dice and you're going to build these lots, and you're going to roll dice to try to take over other players' casinos, because whoever has the most dice pips in a certain casino controls that casino. But you can do bribes and everything like that to shake things up, and you're trying to earn the most money and gain the victory points by having the most prolific casinos all across the Vegas Strip. There's a lot of cool mechanics built in the game, such as the ability to start gambling at other players' casinos, taking their money away from them, or lose your own money to their casino if things don't go in your favor. But the game is really well done, and it's very easy to teach. Mechanically, it's very simple, but it's a very well, supremely designed game, and I am so happy they came out with the 10th anniversary of the game. Now, you can see that I only bought the Underworld expansion. Now, why did I do that? Why didn't I go all in for all the wonderful things? Well, because over the years, I managed to gain I managed to gain the base game of Lords of Vegas. I got the very first expansion, the Up expansion, and I managed to get some very good professional Las Vegas chips to replace the money. I've got other things, and I put a whole bunch of money into the game, so the only thing I really need is an Underworld expansion, and I'm going to be really, really happy with it. So yeah, it's only $24, and it's a wonderful game system. If you have never played it, I can highly, highly say go sign up for the late pledge. You will not be unhappy. This game deserves all the wonderful kudos it gets. This is a wonderful game. You can sit down with anybody who says, hey, do you want to play Monopoly? You say, no, 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 no. Do you want to play Lords of Vegas? Because it'll give you a reason. Take that copy of Monopoly you have and throw it in the trash where it belongs. And finally, we have the Secret Cabal Kickstarter. Now, the Secret Cabal is one of the best podcasts out there, bar none. I know a lot of people like some other podcasts, but I'm going to say the Secret Cabal podcast is the best board gaming podcast, bar none. You have phenomenal production. You have a group of people who talk and act like they've been playing board games together for years and years and years. They get together phenomenally. They sound professional. They have wonderful quality. And the wonderful, great thing about the Secret Cabal is every time they talk about a board game, I have never once felt like they pulled the game out of the box, played from the rules, and try to tell me that this is a review of the game. Every time I listen to a review from these guys, it sounds like they understood the game, they played the game a lot, they put a lot of heart and effort into the review of the game, and they put a lot of heart and soul into the podcast themselves, and they do a wonderful job. Now, I'm back in the Secret Cabal podcast because I want these guys to be around for a long, long time. I hope they never go away, and unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but unfortunately, the people who put this on, they do this as a full-time job. So it's not an issue of will this money help them, it's an issue of they need this money to keep going. So if you have ever wanted to support my channel in any way, and understand I do this as a hobby, I don't do this as a job at all. I have a nice, wonderful job in the real world, so I do all this channel stuff as a hobby. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy interacting with all of you. I enjoy putting up these videos. I enjoy bringing out this content. These guys do this as a job, and they need your support. So if you've ever wanted to support my channel, take anything you want to support on my channel and throw it at these guys, because they deserve everything you can throw at them. I hope they make it to the 80K that they're after, and I'm actually throwing some money at them, going for 0 rewards at all, because I want these guys to hang out, because I love their quality, I love their banter, I love their back and forth, I love everything they do. They bring out consistent content every single week. They talk about board games, they talk about RPGs, they talk about all the things I'm interested in. And these are a group of guys that I swear if they lived in the same place, the same state, same city as they did, I would be knocking on the doors and pestering them and saying, hey, you guys need to know the guy at the table, because I'm not that terrible of a person, and heck, I would love to join your group because you guys all seem to have tons of fun. Look at the Secret Cabal. They can really, really use your support. Yeah, they have a high goal there, but I think they need it, and they are going right now. We see that they're 56,000. I would love for them to get to the 80,000, because actually, I'm going to lie to you. I'm kind of lying to you. I would love to see them get 100,000, 120,000, because these guys do the best bang-up job out of any board game podcast I've ever listened to. These guys put their heart and their soul into everything, and I want them to stay around for many, 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 many more years, because they're one of my #1 podcasts in my podcast feature. I want to keep listening to these guys every single week. And now to close everything out with the final poll for the evening. Would you like to see more live content on the channel, and would you possibly be interested in seeing some live plays of some RPGs? Obviously, it's going to be through the tabletop software, the virtual tabletop through Fantasy Grounds, but is that something that'd be interesting to all of you? Would you enjoy watching that? Leave your comments down below and let me know that's the kind of content you want to do. Because remember, this is a channel as much for you as it is much for me. If this is a channel that you want to continue to watch the content on, interact, leave me your comments, leave me your feedback down below, let me know what you want to see on the channel. Hope you enjoy this channel, hope you enjoy this video. If you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them down in the YouTube comments down below. I'll be sure to answer them as quickly as I can. You can also feel free to email me at offtheshelfboardgamereviews, that's otsbgr@gmail.com. I'll be sure to answer your email as quickly as I can. If you enjoy this video, enjoy this video's channel, click that like button and that subscribe, because your subscriptions do matter here. Thanks for watching.